Chairman Tanaka calling to order the meeting of June 13th of the Emergency Services Efficiency Committee. The time is 6:39 p.m. So that completes number one. Number two, we have no alternates to seat. Is anybody present to speak? No. So we need to approve the minutes of April 11th. So I move we approve the minutes of April 11th. Second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes. I move that we accept the minutes of May 9th. Second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Minutes pass. Old business. Is there anything new on your mold?
We did meet with the Board of Finance. Going off the first quote was what they gave us. I think they gave us 37,000.
Yeah, my memory.
We're working. We're supposed to have another contractor out this week to do another quote.
All right.
We also think everybody's whole firehouse has used Ron Mike. He's going to come out just to give us a hand, trying to figure out what our next step should be. Next Tuesday.
That his neighbors at the company.
That's it. He's the chief of animal.
Okay.
The name of his economy on the hood. Yeah. He's done a lot of work. I think there's a station in our station, both firehouses.
It's just that there was two first names.
Yeah. So Mike,
Ron.
just so that it's somebody from the outside trying to help us. Right. What our next steps need to be.
Right. Oh no,
We know we're going to have to get an engineer to figure out the whole water issue. What's going to be the best way to do that?
So if they found the spot the floor was coming up.
Where? Which one?
Oh, there's multiple.
Unknown. So
That was,
yeah.
that's
You know, part of the diagnosis, I suspect, is once it's stripped down,
then
All
we
right.
can
either take a fire hose or garden hose and make it
soak
rain
the-
and
see where the bubbles are coming up.
see if it comes in anyone.
They did pull some of the floor tiling farther into the meeting room, like with the meeting room and the bay door, or where the meeting room, the bays. They pulled up a couple of tiles there, and there was mold all underneath those. So, no idea. Is it just, we have no idea.
It's premature.
Yeah. Until all of that is stripped.
Yeah, then you'll at least know how far it's from. And you might see clues of where it's coming in, maybe.
So let's,
Water's moving, swaying.
you know, the biggest thing is
Flow.
what's going to be the solution in trying to fix this?
Yeah.
You know, what's,
That's an engineering problem, maybe on.
all of us as well.
Is there any operational effects that more than normal? Still able to keep your trucks in there?
Until they start work. Once the work starts, then that'll be a different story. We'll have people in this. Though it's warm, I really don't have a concern of putting a T2 outside that at the south station. The emails, on the other hand, we gotta figure that out. I know we talked originally, we may be able to put it at the station 49. We needed to for a few days.
Across the street there.
No, there was talk of putting the forestry out back. Putting in the
Areas.
So it's just, yeah, the engines, it's just. Once we get there.
You have anything in this right now?
So 613, which is the green one, is still in Vernon currently. We had it back, it was running, but Vernon was down a truck. We've been the recipient multiple times of people needing help. Yeah, Vernon needed help, so we did allow them to use the truck for a little bit. That'll be back.
How long has it been there? Because I saw it like 2 months ago.
They had, no, it was there before Memorial Day for 3 weeks.
Oh, that's when I saw it
And then,
probably.
Yeah, and then it came back here so that we could have it for Wellington Day, Memorial Day, and we had it for the weekend. Then it went back in the middle of that weekend. And it's back. So like I said, we've been the recipient of needing help. So we thought it was right. But, oh yeah. We help out. So.
As far as, Vernon was having manpower problems for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Still having.
Everybody's still having, yeah, everybody's having.
They did do a big hire that improved
Yeah.
things immensely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're now
That's
running,
good information.
and as of this week, they started running 3 crews every day. Which is a huge help to the utility system.
Yes. That way they can come back towards Holland too.
Yes. Holland is still down one ambulance, and that's gonna be for the foreseeable future, unless we knew the truck's gotta go to Florida. So, that was the last one. They blew the air conditioning system, so they did a remount on it.
Yeah.
Or that's a remount in 2017. Nobody makes that AC system for that old box. The box is in 2007, 2008.
And there's nobody between here and Florida that can work on
It's the parts. It's getting the parts.
I think when they died, it contaminated the whole system.
Yeah, so they have to,
Inside.
it's gotta go to a remount facility so that they can tear the inside of the truck apart and all this stuff. So that is how special. That is the last item.
They're also having problems with crews.
Yeah.
Oh, not even getting the first thing.
Yeah. Because now that I'm on the IAR, yeah, I'm seeing where people are going. So I saw you guys actually went to Yukon the other day. They paid him back once.
Yukon, we've been to Mansfield lately. Ashford, Talent.
Yeah, I saw the actor, somebody was in the apartment the first hour or something. Didn't you guys send an engine down to the fire department?
Well, we went.
They went to
upstairs.
College.
Unfortunately, it's everywhere. Everyone's fighting for the same very small pool of people. Yep.
EMT, they will finally come up to.
So it's, and I know it's not on the agenda, but it's one thing that I wanted to bring up tonight, whether you want other correspondence with the welfare.
Let's put it under good welfare. Perfect. CIP discussion. The only thing I have on the CIP discussion is, are you discussing it? Is that something that's on your radar? Because that should be coming up.
So we did talk at the last efficiency meeting.
Yeah.
And we have had some correspondence back and forth with Christina when the next, when will we start the CIP stuff? I think we're talking September or so, or one of these stations. So, Tom, Stuart, myself, Ron, James, we all sat down a few months ago and came up with a brief 20-year plan. It's not set in stone, it's not done, but
That's exactly what I was.
we have an idea of when vehicles need to be replaced. Will that happen? Yeah.
Be prepared for sticker shock.
Oh, no.
So one of the things with the CIP, with the conversation they had with Christina, is your guys' service truck is on order.
I have an update on that already.
Probably. Did you go to Mass? Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, the chief sent me with it on that. Or I guess that's.
I think that could be CIP.
You know, for the emails, we're still trying, I reached out to contact that I had gotten. Something set up. Fortunately, everything we're seeing, we're hoping a remote's gonna work. Otherwise, we're not. False set wonder.
It's length of time and its price.
It's nuts.
And fire trucks, the word has been coming out the last couple of days that fire trucks are gonna go up again. Cummins is running out of engines on the current engine platform. That engine that the new engine that will meet the new emissions and various other things is coming along. Got a headache, X12 engine or something like that, it's called, the next series. And so they're trying to figure out production right now, and so they're starting to tell, because it takes so long to build a fire truck. They're trying to figure out when this explosion is gonna happen, that they're gonna run out of engines, and all the trucks that were already ordered with a certain price are gonna cross each other. And all of a sudden, all those fire trucks that are in production are no longer gonna be able to get that engine. And then they're gonna have to add like, it's something like $15,000 or $18,000 or something for the engine. Yeah.
That happened last time when the emissions kicked in the early 2000s.
I think it was what, around 07 or something, when the big emissions changed.
A lot of the fire truck manufacturers tried to buy piles of engines that were non-sustainable emissions. And that worked for a while, but
When we were doing our plan, we were talking, we had all decided that Rescue 140 was the next truck in town that was to be replaced. And I think we were talking $600,000 or $700,000 for a replacement cost. I don't think we're gonna be anywhere close to it. Right. I think you're looking at $900,000 to $1 million.
Well,
I was thinking $1 million to $1 million.
Yeah, I think it was close to 296.
Yeah. But to do something in that, to do something in that,
When did you buy that?
Up to 96, the rescue. And it's been refurbed once and it's resting.
squad will be shortly after that.
So for current CIP projects, Alex mentioned the service truck. There have been multiple hiccups along the way with the service truck. It's in the current fiscal year CIP money, which I love.
Wait a minute, you have to talk to cops. What does a service truck do?
The SUV,
Oh, okay. Thank you.
the one that has the holes rusted through the roof of it.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I'm with you.
the dealer, Northwest Hills Chevrolet, played some sort of game, and the vehicle that was supposed to be for us got sold to somebody else. Now they think they know when the next one's gonna be produced on production date in August maybe, but no guarantees. In the meantime, through help from various different people, we found another dealer in Massachusetts who has a parking lot full of them, but they're selling. Now everyone else is finding them too, and they're
Right.
selling like crazy. Fortunately, they are on one of those purchasing consortiums, so they do have a
Okay.
publicly bidded
Right,
price. So the chief and, you went up, right? Bobby went up to Massachusetts to Framingham to make sure the vehicle was actually there
yeah.
on the lot, and it is. And there's multiple black ones and red ones. And, so he got information to me while he was driving. I had conversations with Donna. The RFP has not gone out. The RFP has been waiting for months, I guess,
Yeah.
because other things need to get lined up with it or something. So they would pay less fees. So it looks like the RFP is finally ready to go out, except the change in the dealership now has thrown it off. As of this afternoon, Donna referred it back to the Board of Selectmen to approve for this coming Monday night, to approve the different vendor because it was previously approved to Northwest Hills Chevrolet. So now at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, it will hopefully be approved to switch the vendor to McGovern HQ, is it? Yeah, McGovern HQ. Same spec vehicle, all that other stuff, same total price, it's
Oh,
the name of the
right.
dealer. So that's gotta get resolved at the selectmen's meeting, so presumably Tuesday morning, the RFP will go out for financing. And the dealer just said all they need is a commitment, they need the chief to say, yes, we're in process of it.
does that have to go to town meeting?
No, since it was.
It already did.
It went for the previous thing last year, for whatever the previous step was, but to execute the lease, it doesn't have to go back. If it was a purchase, it would have to go back again. To the towns. And the chief verified that with Donna again.
Because the reason I asked was Troy's vehicle, because I know that was a lease, and it went to town meeting and failed.
So the reason,
Yeah.
Because it was a change of vehicle.
it was a change in the vehicle, that's what. So they
It
had
went
to
from
change
an
the
F
CIP,
three fifty to a
but
SUV.
they had to change the CIP plan. So they wanted to make the change in the CIP plan, that's why it went back to.
The allocation had gone to the townspeople already to be approved for that. It just was because it was a change from the plan that the taxpayers had approved. They said, well, we'll do the right thing and go back to the taxpayers.
So did Troy get a pickup?
I have no idea how
No,
that's.
he's got nothing.
Can't find it.
I thought I heard that they found one, but that was a rumor, and so I didn't want to.
As of a week and a half ago, when I talked to him, he said, he's got nothing. Now, giving back some history, previous administrations, there was no requirement for a town meeting for a lease. It was considered an annual business expense, and if for whatever reason the budget got cut, simply return the vehicle back. When one administration got in, they thought it would be transparent to have a town meeting involved with it. But apparently, when we got to, there's no requirement to have a town meeting to do a lease.
Yeah, that,
It's just
I
part of the budget process.
right, because it's approved in the CIP plan and it's approved in the budget process to make the payments for that lease. That's, I fought for years on the Board of Finance to get clarity on that, to get a policy written down somewhere,
It would have
so that we could actually point to the policy.
You know, you look at the number of approvals that have to go through in place anyways, approving, for the CIP committee to approve their plan, then selectmen endorse it, then it goes to the Board of Finance. It goes to the town meeting, and then town referendum. And then you have to get approvals all over again to actually do the purchase. How many approvals do you need?
Regardless,
So
that's
just for the
where we
board-
are,
That's something for the Board of Finance.
so that's where it is.
Money coming out. Is still a member of Colonel? Because I remember we were, and then I thought they were talking about not.
Currently, our insurance.
Yeah. All right. I thought I remembered something about that change, but, you know.
There were changes in the, there were changes a lot of years ago in the Council of Governments.
Yeah.
There was changes.
Well, I
with-
know that it happened on John.
Yeah, there was changes with the colonel as far as the fire departments being able to the insurance policies. We now hold our own insurance policies, more of a, we were able to get it. Higher EMS pays.
Well, they've never been our insurance except for.
It's time.
I thought there was a change.
No, there was 1 year they gave a proposal and we had a meeting between the selectmen and the fire department. And we asked them, well, what happens if a fireman who drives through a red light hits someone? Well, you're not covered, he's breaking the law. Did not give us long fuzzies about the quality of their insurance.
Well, I think we beat that to death. Anything with the town union?
No update.
Moving on. Anything, I'm gonna go to you on this one, Stuart. You have done a real good job with the Hill getting budgets aligned and getting the new outlines done. You were working with Donna. Is
Yeah,
that-
so
is
I
that done now?
gave Donna what the final changes were, outlined, what new, in the chart of accounts, what new line items need to be in there for both departments. There's only a couple changes still in Hill, we had 5 or 6. The change sheet has all that and expected to implement in July.
Excellent. All right, I'll try. With this part headache, let's see how that goes. New business. Tax abatement. Does anybody want to speak to that from 49? Because I read it real briefly and I think that, it looked good to me. From what I understand, there was some. You want a copy?
No, I read it.
I'll give you a recap from the meeting I attended.
That's the one I wanted to hear.
So I did not speak on it at the Board of Selectmen's meeting because I would potentially be a beneficiary
Right.
of that.
Yes,
Although I have every year since I got on the Board of Finance, I have opted out of it.
yes,
I felt like I should not benefit from it. So I did not speak on it at all at the Board of Selectmen's meeting, but since this is not a Board of Selectmen's meeting, I will speak on it. There are a couple changes, and I didn't participate in writing the changes, but there are a couple things that I think are appropriate. One is there are a couple things in there that are basically a punishment. If you have been late on your taxes anytime in the last 2 years, which potentially anyone in this room or these departments could have even accidentally been 1 day late. But
Right.
once you've been marked in the system as having been delinquent, then you have 2 years, you're not eligible. And to me, that's just a punch. There's no value to the public to have that. All that's doing is disincentivizing people who this is supposed to be an incentive for to serve their town. So that stuff I think should go away.
Was that change put in after the Board of Selectmen meeting?
No, that was one of the
That was-
proposals in the
Alright.
changes. Another item in there that is, I think deserves a little more debate is if you are currently delinquent at the time it comes up, would you be eligible or not? And there are theories on both sides of that one. My feeling is if you are delinquent, then you still should be eligible for it, but the abatement pays your delinquency first.
Right.
And someone made a comment, well, why would you get that? Why would you get rewarded and help get by your delinquents? Because the whole idea is you're supposed to incentivize people to serve, to volunteer. You're not getting rewarded, you're getting incentivized to volunteer. So if someone is volunteering for their community, why not continue to support that and encourage it? Just apply it to their back taxes.
Right.
That way the back taxes might get resolved. So those are the couple things that I have kind of a strong feeling in case you haven't noticed.
So you probably have a better feeling than I do on this. This is something that has to go to town meeting, I'm assuming.
It's an ordinance
Yeah,
change,
the ordinance change, it would have
And
to
there
go-
was some resistance on the board. Erica brought up the fact that she wanted to make sure it was of value to both departments, which I think is an appropriate question to ask. This is a great thing to talk about.
That's it, exactly.
And she didn't express a lot of interest in the changes. She thought she wasn't too happy with some of the changes. I think, this group has an opportunity to say, this is what we think and we recommend, or we recommend something different or whatever, and try to help it follow the process. That's probably one of the things that this is good for. Excuse me.
So, I'm looking over at this side of the table now. You have feelings on this, or?
I just looked at the amounts, they doubled the current.
Right, so that's based on the state statute that was changed, probably 5 years ago. Of, going from the maximum $1,000 a year to $2,000.
Okay.
So the change in the dollar amounts primarily based on the
On the
obligation
statute.
from the state statute. It used to be limited by state statute, but now
Yeah.
they changed it quite a bit.
All right, is this something that your department could support?
I mean, I look at it one way, we're all short of manpower. And if we, let's pretend we don't update it to the supposed change, we never got it in the first place. How do you know there's no clear thing says, oh, we got more people because of this.
Right,
You'll never know that.
right.
However, if you're short of people and you don't have this, and you're kind of, what do you do? And so it's one of those other things to try to get, people to come up with calls and participate in executive board.
But at this point, we only have 4 people that are eligible, they're all administrative. Because
You had what, about 6 or 8 last year, right?
this is last year's sheet.
I thought there was more than 4.
It's a copy of it right here, that I sent in.
Was it the year before,
The
maybe?
year before was the same.
I thought there were like 6 or 8.
Very round figures, the number of in-town calls, estimated about 700. That sounds about big. So 10% of that, about 70 calls a year, plus the meetings and drills that are required.
The only thing that I had brought up that I had talked to Tom about was the life members who've done for 25 years. As long as they had finding a way that they would qualify if they did their 5 meetings or something like that. I think there should be something for the members that have put in 25, 30, 40 years in the departments and giving back to the town. That's how it is to it. 20 or 25 years, they come to 5 meetings a year, or whatever the criteria is, and they're given their tax.
I'd be curious, not curious for me, but I'm sure the taxpayers, or at least the board of finance, would want to know, what is the financial impact? Because I don't know how many people you have that qualify either as administrative or active active government calls, what did we lose in tax revenue this current year? And under the new rules, what would it turn into?
So the only part of that I know is when we originally brought the ordinance to the taxpayers, it got it approved at the first time when it started. It was originally budgeted. There was a prediction made of what would the maximum impact be, just to be sure that people understood what the impact would be. And it was calculated at the highest it could be was $35,000. It's never been anywhere even close. I think it's even less than that. I don't remember, did those 4 people were they all eligible for the 1,000 level? 750, okay. So, so there's only $3,000 there. And I think, do you remember how much it was? It was something like $7,000 worth total?
Now, the new,
I don't think we've ever even hit $15,000.
under the 25-year thing, that wasn't in the old ordinance, was it?
I don't think it's in there.
Is it?
I
Doesn't
looked
seem
quick, but I didn't.
25 years, you get the tax
Yeah,
abatement
it's-
of active service.
I'd have to open them, but
I've got a copy. But the new one,
The new one has,
25 years. The new one has a 25 years.
right, and the old one did.
No, it did not.
So how many people qualify under your 25-year rule that didn't qualify before?
I think there's only, for us, it's probably 3.
So people that qualify, which is on the list, they're already active.
they're already on the list anyway.
Yeah. So I'm thinking for us, like, Bruce Carlson, but Bruce, who's given how many years to Wellington, but he doesn't serve, he still goes to calls, but he's never really at 10% mark. You know, he has never gotten forward on calls. So somebody like him, who served 25, 30 years,
It came in the late 80s.
he really, in my mind, he's one I think of that should be getting the tax. He still comes to meetings, but he's 75 years old, he's not going out to calls that.
So I just think to do in our homework, somebody's gonna ask at some point, figure out exactly if this passes, what the impact is gonna be over and above what they have been paying on.
What is the time of year that you guys usually put the list together? It's almost-
To August, yeah.
I know
August
it's usually,
31st.
August 31st, yeah.
I know it's usually sometime in the summer because I always
Yeah.
will put an email in saying that that I'm relinquishing my things, I'm opting out of it each year.
Yeah, it's after we finish the fiscal year.
Right.
It is good for us.
So
What's the timing on having to have ordinance change?
we have to be whenever it can be, whenever you do it.
All right. That,
Well, when do you wanna get it implemented?
that's right. That's what I'm thinking, but if you get it implemented before budget season, that would probably be. Oh,
But I think Stuart's right, we need to figure out what would the increase. For us, I don't think it's gonna be as much of an increase.
So if the effective date of the ordinance was after this year's round, then this year's round, once you do the math for this year's round, you could apply the new rules just to test it. And you could easily figure out what the impact's
Yeah,
gonna be. And then this fall, when you're doing the budget, you put it in the budget.
And in the meantime, we can try to get the ordinance passed.
Right.
You wanna know that before the January budget season, if this is in place or not.
So. He's already.
Well, she won't get it now.
Yeah, I don't think we're never gonna get near that 35.
I don't think so.
Ever. And that was what was budgeted 20 years
But
ago or whatever.
Given the change in
Ordinance.
personnel to between the selectmen and the board of finance, sure not to remember that $35,000 that we had predicted.
Right.
So they have to be reminded.
What is the, do we know what they put in now?
They don't even budget it, I don't think, unless she does it on her, it doesn't show up in the budget.
It's on the revenue side, so the basically, the anticipation of revenue goes down.
Oh, they do it as a revenue adjustment, yes, so it's not in the budget, right, I knew it wasn't in the expense budget. It's just a revenue adjustment. And every year our revenue comes out higher than budgeted for anyway, even with the adjustment, so.
Yeah, so this is effective 8/29. 2014.
Okay, so it's 20 years next year.
10 years.
I'm sorry, 10 years. 10 years.
Because I remember it and I don't remember things 10 years ago. So,
I don't remember math. I don't remember math.
But Peter, your answer to your question, yes, we would support it.
all right, that's very much what I, can, Alex, can you, call the chief manager, work out some of these, make sure we have your questions answered, like, oh, good. So as long as you know the questions that you think people are gonna be asking and we can prepare the answers, I think, and that you guys can support it, I think it's great.
Did it go before the selectmen yet?
That's what I was saying. It came to the Board of Selectmen meeting last meeting, and there was some resistance to it, a little bit from Erica. There was mostly the comment of, I see the chief from Willington Hill here. I don't see anyone from Willington Mall. So can we make sure this is supported? Here we are.
So it didn't come up for a vote or anything?
No, it was just discussion.
Bring it up to the vote, because then it's gotta go to town meeting.
Well, you either have to get the Board of Selectmen to put it on a call for a town meeting, or you have to petition it, or the usual process is to get it to.
Is there something else coming up for town meetings?
Isn't there always something?
There should be, so what I'm thinking is that we could get,
Yeah, usually they try to lump something together just so.
just so you don't have to have. because they
Yeah,
pay
you have
people
to pay
for
for
town meeting.
notices.
Yeah.
and you have to-
So
Oh, yeah.
what we need to do is talk to Tom and figure out how we can schedule this with the Board of Selectmen so that we can get it on a town meeting. Slide it in as item 2 or 3. Sometime after adjournment, so we can make sure it passes.
I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
Oh, sorry.
What's the target date to represent it?
That's what I'm thinking, is we want to find out when a town meeting might be, so we
But, I
can
mean,
slide it in.
To present it to the Board of Selectmen.
Right,
You wanna get it
to
in?
present it to the Board of Selectmen, if the Board of Selectmen vote on it, they only have they have a time limit on when they can call the town meeting. So what you do is you look for a town meeting and you get into that Board of Selectmen meeting before that. You have to work everything freaking backwards, because.
The sooner the better.
The sooner everything's ready.
Trying to see if there's something on the calendar. I don't think there is yet.
Okay. Or you, Alex, if you would talk before you get the selectmen's office to figure out what the best time to present that is. If she says next year, you say, second.
There's nothing scheduled in the whole month of June for a town meeting.
Is there an option to petition for a town meeting?
Yes.
Make it go out?
Yes. Yes.
There's nothing, I don't think I see a town meeting in July either. So if there is something in the works, it hasn't been called by the Board of Selectmen yet. Because then it would be.
I know some
Presumably,
how some
yeah.
towns run their fire department request for, say, somebody petition for town meeting.
Right. Petition for a town meeting in this town isn't difficult. I think it takes 26. The real pain with the petition for a town meeting is to get what you want for the town meeting written in the little tiny space that they give you.
And get the word.
And get the wordage correct. Yeah. The wordage, something. Anyway, so that makes me happy too. Thing that came up at last meeting, I'm moving on, sorry. Thing that came up on at the last meeting was pre-plans. And how was it firefighter 1, you have to write a pre-plan for a meeting or something like that?
Something to, yeah.
You have to write 2 pre-plans?
Firefighter 2.
Firefighter 2, all right. You go 1 first?
Yes.
One first, then you go to firefighter 2. Firefighter 2 is where we do.
All right,
Just one.
Just one.
just 1 pre-plan at 2.
I get it. So I have a folder in my car that's probably 2 inches thick of various pre-plans that have been done in the last 25 years, probably. I suspect you may have some laying around as well. We've never was standardized on the particular format, but the opportunity right now between the I am responding and the Cruise Force applications is those pre-planned information can be stored on there.
That was the answer to the question I was gonna come up with, so.
And we came up the other night, we went up to Ridgeview Heights for a medical call, and there's two of our somewhat newer people, I mean, the newer Ridgeview Heights, right, but they have no idea of what building is which, or which apartments in which building. Unfortunately, the patient came outside. Wellington Oaks is even worse. Been going over 35 years, I still don't know.
You drive around,
They don't
places,
make
I
sense.
drive around,
Doesn't make
I used to hope for either Wellington Hill or Mansfield to show up first until we figured out where it was. We're not having that option as much anymore. So that's what some of the changes popped in on the Cruise Force application. For those listening, it's typically, it could be a phone, but usually it's an iPad app that we have in most of our applications. And you have it ready to go to your service truck when you get that. If you're assigned to a certain address, there's a little box that pops up, says pre-plans available. You press one button and you pull up all the PDFs you want. Another one that I have the information for is FedEx gave us some very beautiful color drawings of all the door numbers all the way around the complex, where the entries are to get into the building, where our hydrants are, of course, where the staircases are, there's options to go up and down stairs in that place. They gave all that to us, but it's one of those things that, you know, as an officer, even in the apparatus, you're usually not pulling up and open to try to figure it out.
Right, well, that was what I had under pre-plans was, pre-plan isn't any good unless it's accessible.
Yeah, well, it needs to be accessible, it needs to be updated.
It needs to be updated.
All have pre-plans that haven't been updated for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, every time we send somebody to fire one, go through the list of, what have we not done in a while,
Have them do it.
and have them do it. But then what comes back to the fire too is the other part.
And pre-plans may be different for different buildings, obviously, but Cedar Ridge Apartments, biggest problem there is water supply. You're 4,000 to 5,000 feet from the nearest hydrant, and you're on a dead end road. So try to get water supply, it's terrible. That one little hydrant they put in on the floor isn't gonna provide much.
Yeah, and it's off of their domestic water system.
Yeah, it's off the domestic system, that never size. Or something like the Knolls in South Wellington, that may be more on the building construction, things like that, where especially the lower mill, neither one has a sprinkler system or the piping's in place. But the lower mill has a wooden elevator shaft in the back, which for communicating fire from one floor to the other, is really, really.
So the upper mill, the sprinkler system had been, is it no longer
Yeah.
working? It is,
Yeah,
okay.
we're trying to get him to put an outside fire department, because that's too high on the gravity feed type of.
Up on the top of the hill.
So the pre-plans can vary quite a bit in terms of what you're putting in them, but the idea is to share that information with who's ever going.
Yes.
On the Cruise Force, and I think I'm responding, you can share it with mutual aid partners as well. So if Tom is kind of making a look at the pre-plan stuff that we have. At that time, we can't just search for it, really, it's gonna be complicated.
So that makes me happy as well, that there is a technology resource that can be used to access these things, whether we're currently using it, whether somebody's got to sit down and do all those uploads, that's gonna be a pain in the focus. This,
There's somebody at TM that does it.
oh.
Now, this is one of the topics that we just had our election class. So we just had our first chiefs and captains meeting the new officers. This was one of the higher priorities, is getting some of these pre-plans updated. It's
Updated and then
accessible, yeah.
So my thought is to have kind of a subcommittee from both departments get together, just to get the financial stuff.
you're one step ahead of us.
And so now, first of all, let's start off, what do we have now that, or start from, if we have anything, and
Formatting.
which, what are we trying to accomplish, and there might even be two levels of details, and you might go through the first round, get the basics of where do you find it, and maybe where's the water supply, and then you might get into more detailed building instruction, key building information, things like that, for the next go.
And when we did the quadrants, remember we did, all those years ago, we did the quadrants, we did some target hazard, just some real basic target hazard stuff there. And we could probably sort of jump off from that to get that first level.
Yeah. Like I said, the apartments are the tougher ones for most everybody. Say, go to apartment 43 at Deer Park. Well, we have two buildings that kind of front and back to every building, and short of making yourself go in that one driver, that's not the one to back out and go somewhere else. The idea is to have that information.
Do you guys think that you could, find somebody for a subcommittee to work with these? Joint subcommittee, think about formatting, think about technology, think about maybe getting this information out there, that kind of stuff, that would be great.
I think like two people from each department, that way one can't make it that night.
Yeah.
But you don't want to overload it.
No,
Everybody.
no.
Just keep it simple. Pick a property and go get some info. I mean, we have, I think you guys have to the old Sammy Wheeler hand drawn maps that he made probably in the 70s. And technology has marched on, and you figure out how to do it. You take a Google overhead shot, Photoshop or something like that. You could write in on the actual picture of what is where. So we have shown. Oh, we have to do it? Yes. Oh, I've seen. Okay. Beautiful. That's right now we're really trying to do that. Fairly soon we can figure it out. Good.
Yeah, I do that. I do that with a screen snip, and then I use like a Microsoft Paint program and just edit in text, put a text box in and put like the location.
The campgrounds are problematic. That the other day, Wilderness Lake said, site N9 at the top of the hill. It wasn't on top of the hill, it was top of the hill, down the back, around the corner.
It's like, what top of the hill?
Unfortunately, somebody let us in, otherwise we would. So you help find places where to go.
So, that's already further along than I was hoping to get tonight. So. Make me happy. Next one, SOPs, SOGs, A and Os. So, from what I understand, the Hill likes SOGs because that's a guideline, and we try to state guidelines instead of direct orders. That's fine by me. I don't care what we call it. Police departments all went from SOPs to A and Os for administrative and operational orders. I'd like to explain that, but I think somebody probably made money by changing the 3 letters.
So I can give you good news.
All right.
So after this meeting last month, I actually sat in the parking lot discussion, working on first the juniors,
Yes,
so that we have a
that's where I wanted to start.
combined juniors policy together. So both departments are following the same policy guideline. We've talked in the past of having joint SOPs, SOGs, however it is. There's no reason that we shouldn't, because we go to every call together. The problem is, it is a lot of work to do.
Oh, no. I see this as a several-year project.
Like, we've done committee after committee after committee of trying to get these things revised, rewritten. And you get about one page done.
No,
Yeah.
just within our underpass.
Oh, yeah, within our one.
Yeah. You get one page done, and then the whole system breaks down because your scope of effort is, what you're trying to do is, we're gonna change SOG 1.1 this year and see if we can get that done. And then if you could, both departments come together and decide that they like the same 1.1, we declare a miracle, have the priest come in, and then we move on to 1.2.
There'll never be a how we operate on a scene.
Right.
What's hard is, depends on whose district it is, which,
Yeah,
it's just, we can do the framework, but
right. Well, a framework would be a good place to start. All right. So, and the reason I put down accreditation here is because I come from a world where accreditation is a big deal. I don't know, is there such thing as fire department
other
accreditation?
than our ISO.
There is
Not
such
at
thing,
all.
but it's not relevant to us.
Okay.
The big cities, I think, try to go for it. If it's a huge thing where I
Right,
expect they have like a full-time person assigned just to get,
well,
I mean, we've seen a little bit of from Coventry, the district center, that's a portion of the accreditation. It's a big project.
you know, it's a huge
And
project.
it's a big feather in the cap if you get it.
You try to forget it.
No, they, on the police side, there's also that.
Yeah, the police side, I know they have it.
I think there are only a couple fire departments in the whole state
Whole
that
state.
are like
What is-
Hartford.
What'd you say, ISG?
ISO,
ISO.
the Insurance Services Organization.
Okay,
So they're a third-party company that provides data to insurance companies.
okay,
So when you
Like how big
go,
your risk is.
when you go out shopping, you know, you're buying a house, and you get to house insurance, your insurance company, not all of them, but most of them, reach out to ISL, so what's the rating for loan? How good are they? Where a 10 is either you have no fire department, or if you're more than 5 miles from a responding station, you get terrible rates. And then it goes from 9 all the way to Hartford's a class 1, they have all the water in the world, part of manpower, training, dispatches, many items that go with it.
Yeah, Billington is a 9.
No,
I mean,
we're five wide. That's what we got out of that last, what we did about 3 years ago.
that's right, because they revamped it.
Yep, so they
It
had,
used to be a 9.
yeah, we used to be a 9 for years. Yes, there's the fire department, they proved they could do nothing. And then we went through a very long process of training records. We actually had, kind of the first time, we both of our departments together, probably was the same ID number, but probably we responded together, which helped, you know, boost our numbers in terms of who's doing what, and how training's going on, that sort of thing. For hydrant inspections are part of it. So it's a huge point system that you get. So I think we did fairly well with that. And it's a somewhat common sense grading system of, do you have enough water on wheels? Do you have enough manpower? The hydrants you got, do they flow enough water? So they actually reach out to Connecticut Water and wanted to know what the hydrants would flow in South Wilmington and so on and so on. So that's kind of the grading purpose of the ISO. If you do badly, or the 5 mile rule kicked in, we had 2 calls, one from Potter School, one from Belize, 2 different insurance companies, or insurance agents calling us. Said, oh my God, we just got the quote for the updated homeowners insurance. Went from $800 to $3,200 a year for insurance. Because they were outside of 5 miles from a Wilmington firehouse. And we had to plug the run cards, unfortunately for Belize and part of Potter School. The Lake Chafee Fire Station, it's like 4.7 miles away. So that saved them thousands of dollars a year because we had the right HOA. We didn't have to do a similar thing in Wales into the top end of Stickman Hill because they didn't have response for 5 miles either. So that's kind of how we're rated.
Do you know what Mansfield is currently? Because last I knew Mansfield was a 5/9.
Yeah, we got a it's a newfangled rating 5. Well, it used to be like an 8B rating, but you had a rating within some 1,000 feet of a pressurized water system. And then the 8B was you carry so much water on wheels that they give 2 different rates. For whatever reason, it came up less for 5 a lot.
Let's saving people on their homeowners. So that's good.
Yeah, so that was the goal with that. And I know Tom Pacino from the Hill was asking us to get evaluated for years. His last evaluation, he was in the early 90s. And so anytime there's a change in water supply in South Wellington, you have the pressurized system. In this case, the hydrants within 1,000 feet of his mill, even though he's got sprinklers and stuff like that. We had to go through and evaluate all the properties that are on there that have been evaluated by us. So ISO doesn't just grade us, they grade building inspectors, and they grade properties. And they figure out what the needed fire flow are for some of these buildings. 500 gallons a minute off to 3,500. So one of the things that we talked about with the new ESO data collection, if you guys go out, pump a hydrant for drill night or something like that, there's a place to do hydrant inspections in software. And ISO, once you have 3 years of records, basically they want you to touch every hydrant in town annually. And there's some documentation saying, this date we went there, we're able to pump this much water, it's free and clear, the tax come off. So that's the one that comes in, and we didn't have that last time, so we got zero credit for it. It turned out it was, the idea is to document that, same with training, you're basically going to fire one, fire two, your monthly, weekly training at the firehouse. You can document all that, those are all points for us, so when ISO comes around again, have all that people. I think, Mike, you've seen the list of one plan, I sent you that, every, they have a list of 40 or 50 things per truck that all get points. And, if you have enough air packs, air bars, light poles and ladders, all that stuff, and that gets points for every truck and it's a detailed evaluation. That's kind of our accreditation, is trying to keep good numbers for that.
Well, the other reason I was bringing up accreditation is because a lot of accreditation agencies have sample or SOPs. So you don't have to completely reinvent the wheel from the ground up.
The problem is most, like if you went to an accredited fire department, right, they're almost always career. Yeah. So their manual would require so much editing, it wouldn't be worth the effort.
All right, well, it was a thought that traveled through my almost.
You can Google search SOP.
Yeah.
You might pull something, that, even if it's just a thought or two out of each of those, what subjects should be in a
Right,
SOP meeting.
that's,
Which one shouldn't?
that's what police accreditation does, is they've got a book about this thing, sample A and O's. When you have an operations order, you can write it however you want, but it must contain these three topics. That's how I knew
In
it.
some levels of detail,
Pay somebody, you have to send it.
there's a difference between SOP and a pre-plan. You don't put in there, the first truck's gonna lay, go to the scene, the second one's gonna do a reverse layout towards the water supply and stuff like that. Especially at a SOP level, that doesn't work. And even at a pre-plan level, isn't that great either, in our case, we never know what trucks we're getting when. That would be our own army kit.
All right. That answers a lot of my questions here. Next thing I have on my list, IT integration. Does IAR work with your iPads in the cars? Are the iPads in the cars? Does all your IT work together? And I
So
know
all
you
of
guys
our-
aren't as IT driven as,
So I'm responding, both departments work on the same platform.
right?
So you can either use it by your phone or our iPads, I believe the one, it's a 249. You can do the mapping off of that. We also have Proofforce, which does all of our mapping. It's
Do they talk?
Proofforce is our mobile data.
All right, do they talk to each other, IAR?
No.
Well, the only thing IAR gets is a outgoing text message, just like you get to your phone. It knows to pop it up on the screen, going, hey, you have a call here,
Right.
and you can say, send me the GPS directions,
Right.
or if
What is
I'm responding to the scene.
What is useful is to see the list of responders.
Right.
That's the hard part, if you use it. Most cars, people with radios in their cars, half of them don't use, same for us, I'm signing out in the air, very rarely do I click on respond.
So you don't want to double your work, but that's,
Well, it's not even doubling the work, it's just. It's on the radio, turn my iPad on, so the Proofforce is on, it's just.
Right.
So that there is some duplication of information, specifically, I think Nolan did a lot of it. Thing of putting in the water supplies, some building information. For this Woodhaven Apartments, alarm goes off all the time and it's never any maintenance or management there. We end up resetting the alarm, but there's a sequence you gotta press. But I don't remember, but I have it on my phone. I go, oh, it's good. There's a sequence you gotta go through. So, I remember that, so this was fine, right? And the same, some of that same information is on the Proofforce side as well. So some duplication, there's no one program in the world, they're all different, they're all leapfrogging each other, one gets better than another one gets better than that one. And, so that would be incorporated kind of into pre-planned stuff.
I was just wondering if there was a comprehensive list of all your IT and how it worked together, whether your IT worked with their IT or whether it's the same branding and cross patterns and stuff like that. That's, all right. I'm happy. Any topics that anybody's interested in discussing at a future meeting? You can think of right offhand. If not, please email me if you do have something. Has anything happened since the last meeting that we haven't shared with the other department or me?
I talk fairly regularly, so, great. The testing system is up and running. They're up, pressure's up and running. They're up.
Is that still air models?
I know.
I know you guys wanted it inspected before they
Yeah,
turned it on.
and they came Thursday.
I think so, yeah.
They came Thursday. and did that. Should be up and running.
So now you have the air when you go in the fire?
Well, yeah, we had it before, just.
Compressor to replenish it.
Do we have any correspondence? Nope. Food and welfare, you had something? You did.
I just wanted to bring up, one of the topics that's always been hot in budget season is about the wages. I learned today, Hebron, who is fairly similar to at least Willington Warren, we run about the same call numbers. Staffing of 2 people now 24/7. They're now starting firefighters, part-time firefighters at $24 an hour for a part-time. They're full-time starting. We are
Where are we at?
significant.
When do we start a part-time? Are we still above minimum wage?
Not by much.
I am well aware.
The night shift is minimum wage. The second person at night is minimum wage. But one of the hard parts that we always struggle with is, when you look at a place like Hebron, why would I work in Willington making $18 an hour?
Why would you work at Willington making $18 an hour when you could work at McDonald's during the day for 24?
Yes. But now taking the full-time staff and making 24/6. That have been here for a couple of years, we're drastically lower than where we should be. All right, and there will be a discussion somewhere in the next couple of months with the Board of Finance, because we, one of our top guys that was working at a ton of shifts, just went to the next town over, it's a lot more money there than it does here.
Or with respect, who's making nothing with no benefits, or you being offered a job at twice that with benefits. I don't think we're gonna hold on.
Well, and what's hard is, it's not that it's a bad place to work, but when it's talks. I still enjoy going to work every day, but when you have the option of making $20 an hour, or you have the option of making 26, you gotta put food on the table for your family.
They're making 15, you can go for 24.
Well, and that's,
Sorry, let me mull that over and see what we can do to work that out, because I think that's something that we need to seriously
we
need
need
to.
to have a serious discussion about that.
Yeah.
This isn't even just post-COVID.
Oh, no.
This has been.
We did do.
For 15 years, so.
We did do, in the middle of COVID, when everybody was jumping their rates, we did do a big bump, but it was $2. Not, some of these places that were doing $5, $6, $7, $8, $11 an hour to keep.
The past with Gas Board of Finance, I think we need to make what top board guys are making. No. Okay. We're doing Mansfield makes, which will start out at $10 an hour higher than we are.
All right.
So it's something that
mull that.
I think that may actually be something that this committee should discuss.
Yes.
Obviously, when it comes to the full-time staff, that's wage negotiations, so I'm more concerned of the part-time, no offense, Stuart, I'm more concerned of the part-time staff, nighttime staff. We have to make it attractable for people to want to work here.
All right,
So what we don't want to end up is in positions other departments have been in where they're consistently short-staffed. And can't get an ambulance out at all. So we're so critical, we only have two people on.
Right.
It's like, oh, somebody called out. We're out, reminding me that. And there's other towns that are still going through that today. And some of the reason you see them usually go to, they don't have staff.
all right, yeah, I'm well aware of that.
Yes.
Let me mold that
Do you
one.
have any comments on that? I know it's just, like I said, I think it should be something that we're all discussing.
Anything else? We're moving to adjourn? All right, I heard a second. Not even gonna take a vote. But I wanna vote.
When's our next meeting?
Whatever it is, the second Tuesday of next month. I got it set up for as, like, I finally got,
The meeting's adjourned at 7:41.
let's stop